I get a lot of questions regarding tanks and what to choose, equipment, skills, perks, and all that stuff, but the most asked question is, which tank should I pick after going through the amazing JagdPanther, the Ferdinand or the JagdPanther II? So now I'm going to settle this with a video where I compare the two. We're going to go through all the strength, all the weaknesses, and what makes one tank better than the other. We're going to look at every little single thing. But I'd like to start out by saying each tank is pretty damn awesome. It all depends on your playstyle, so if you prefer one of them over the other, then that tank is of course better in your opinion. But I'm gonna be unbiased and we're just going to look at pure stats. And first up, we can see that the Ferdinand has 1200 HP, it weighs 65.9 tons and has an engine power of 600, which means the Ferdinand doesn't have a very good acceleration. The max speed is 30 kilometers an hour, but that's not really fast when the acceleration is pretty bad. Traverse speed is 18 degrees per second, and that's not very good either, so it will turn quite slow. The armor though is 200 at the front at the superstructure, and then 80 on the sides and on the rear. The view range is 370 meters, which isn't very good either, but the signal range of 710 is pretty decent. Now let's compare that to the JagdPanther II. At the HP we have 1150 and the weight is 53.6 tons, and the engine power is a lot more than the Ferdinand. Even though it's less tons, it still has 270 horsepower more and a max speed of 45 kilometers an hour. That is a lot faster than the Ferdinand, and you will get to places a lot faster. The traverse speed is 30 degrees per second, which is really fast. This boy turns so fast. The armor though, 100, which is 100 less than the Ferdinand. That's very low, and every single tank will highly likely penetrate you from the front. And we're actually going to test that just in a few seconds. View range is a little bit better, 10 meters, and then the same signal range. And then the single thing that is the same on both tanks, the gun. Amazing rate of fire for the penetration and damage. Accuracy is also pretty decent, and the aim time it's not that bad when you're actually in the tank. So we've actually seen the differences now from the Ferdinand to the JagdPanther, but let's test those differences. First up, we'll have the armor, and we've brought in a tier 6 tank to test this out with, just to show off that a tier 6 tank can penetrate both of them. And we start out with a shot at the lower plate, and you can see, boom, went straight through. A Cromwell gun went straight through the bottom plate. Then the upper bottom plate, penetration, none. Then we're going up to the vertical plate, no penetration either there. And then we're going to test out the superstructure, the side on that one, nope, and nope. Even though it's not as sloped as on the JagdPanther II, it still bounces quite a lot of smaller guns. So if you can get into a hull down positions like any other tank, then that would of course be a very good idea, but only if you're facing your own tier and below, because your own tier will penetrate your superstructure, because it is only 200 millimeters of armor. And you just saw my Cromwell trying to penetrate the top of the Ferdinand, and that was simply impossible. And there you see 2 weak spots on the Ferdinand, which I actually didn't know about. I just tried to fire there and the Cromwell gun penetrated. So hold down position, hide those weak spots, which you just saw right here, and you should be good. Let's check out the JagdPanther II with the same shots. And again, the bottom plate is just penetrated very easily. The upper plate is bouncy, just as the Ferdinand. So are the sides of the superstructure, which is the toughest part of the JagdPanther II, but the Cromwell still had a pretty hard time penetrating. Pretty hard? It couldn't. So he decided to just try and find some weak spots all over the place. And up top was no weak spots. Even though he could hit them, the View Ranger just soaked the damage and I received no damage whatsoever. He then takes a shot at the small gunner down there, and he actually does damage to me right there. He then tries the same weak spots that the Ferdinand has, but nope, that's a no-go. The
JagdPanther cannot be penetrated where the Ferdinand had some weak spots on the front plate. And then Behemoth actually just tries to penetrate me wherever and hit the view range right there and hit me in the gun. No damage there either. Tries one more time. So we can actually conclude that the JagdPanther actually has better armor sloped against a tier 6 Cromwell than the Ferdinand has, because it has less weak spots. That's the armor test. And now for a speed test, just to show how fast the acceleration of the JagdPanther actually is. We can see they pretty much follow each other at the beginning, but then the JagdPanther's top speed and acceleration just takes over and the Ferdinand is just left in dust. Let's take a look at the traverse speed again. As you can see, the JagdPanther is really fast at turning, and Ferdinand is really slow with the 18 degrees per second versus the 30 degrees per second. Also something that isn't mentioned in the stats, but as we can see, the gun traverse, the space where the gun can move in. For the JagdPanther it's really small, but for the Ferdinand it's quite big. So the Ferdinand can actually sit in one position and fire at moving targets a lot more than the JagdPanther can. As you've hopefully heard, I don't really dislike the Ferdinand as much as I would some other tanks in this game, but I do prefer the JagdPanther over it just because it is so super fast, and I do know how to deal with the no armor thing. And then the Ferdinand, it's super slow, but it has armor which can be penetrated easily by its own tier and higher, which it will see in almost every single battle. But click one of these annotations to get straight to a video showing off how great the JagdPanther is, or how great the Ferdinand is. One is played by me, the JagdPanther, and the other one is played by Behemoth. So you're actually going to go to his channel to see the Ferdinand video, because it would be silly if I just post the same video. But yeah, super fast, no armor, pros and cons for the JagdPanther. Ferdinand, armor, but really slow. And of course the ratings, shouldn't forget that. I'm going to give amazing if you know how to use it, because that is the same grade that both of these tank destroyers will get. Because if you don't know how to utilize speed with no armor and a great gun, then you'll probably have no idea why I will give the JagdPanther Tanktacular, and you will have no idea why I won't give the Ferdinand Tanktacular, because I'm just not a slow kind of armored guy. I really enjoy using the Ferdinand, but it's just too slow to give it the Tanktacular for me. So both of them are amazing if you know how to use them.